Greetings and welcome to the 57th episode of Retro Rant. Usually in this channel I like to take adventure games that are universally adored and roast them, but for this episode I want to take the opposite approach, reviewing Dreamweb. This is a game that got quite mixed reviews with very blatant flaws, but I still think that this is a very worthwhile adventure to sink your teeth into. I felt that way back in the day and I still do now. Dreamweb came out in 1994 for Amiga and DOS, and it was developed by Creative. We will be reviewing the Amiga version here, which is the one I grew up with. The DOS version looks identical, yet it has a CD version with spoken dialogue. If you always wanted to control a barman in a video game, Dreamweb has you covered, although there won't be a lot of cocktail mixing in the course of this adventure. The hero is Ryan, a guy that probably drinks some very suspicious cocktails because lately he has been plagued by some sinister dreams. There is a thingy called Dreamweb, which holds reality together in some way, and its existence is jeopardized by 7 evil persons. There are some monks devoted to the Dreamweb, and they contact you in your dreams, telling you to dispose of these evil persons and save humanity. Reading the very good documentation that comes with the game, one is not entirely sure if the Dreamweb actually exists, or if Ryan suffers from a psychotic episode. The graphics are a bit underwhelming to say the least. The playing area size is tiny and pixelated, and the screen is dominated by a huge drawing of Ryan on the left side that plays little role in the game apart from opening the inventory and showing off his 90s sunglasses. On the positive side, the pixel art is very fitting for the atmosphere of the game, successfully depicting the dystopic future with bleak colors, dirty streets, miserable locations, and depressing NPCs. I find the unorthodox idea of a top-down view to be quite successful for what the game is trying to achieve. I absolutely love the music in this game. There are some fantastic, although not very memorable, dark electro-ambient soundscapes throughout the game that absolutely capture the essence of the game's gloomy atmosphere, increasing the immersion in the game world as well as the grab factor. There are some differences in the soundtrack among the various versions from what I've read, but I have played and enjoyed them all, so I cannot recommend one over the other, apart from the voice acting present in the DOS CD version, which is adequate. About the gameplay, I understand most of the objections that the reviewers of this game had. The inventory management is one problem, since you can take anything you will come across, but only a handful of items are actually useful. What makes this worse is that you have a finite number of inventory slots, so you had better be careful about what you pick up. In the game's defense, most of the useful items are quite obvious, usually tools, so this is not as big a problem. Dreamweb is chock full of pixel hunting, which I hate. At least the developers acknowledged the problem and provided a close-up of the playing area in which you can better discern the various items. Like Beneath a Steel Sky, the game's story starts very strong, but later it seems rushed and sloppy. I also disliked the puzzles of Dreamweb, which were quite easy, mundane and uninspired, and all these problems would have killed the game for me normally. Yet, the game is a gem for me because of the story, the writing and the atmosphere. I already talked about the graphics and especially the sound of the game, creating an immersive world, but I should also pay my respects to the brilliant writing that this game has to offer. Although not perfect, you will find that each and every object, even the most mundane ashtray, has a very fitting, dark yet enjoyable description that creates in your imagination all the details that the cramped playing screen lacks. Dreamweb has simply one of the best scripts in Amiga gaming. I often criticize adventure games when they feel empty and shallow. Well, Dreamweb is the exact opposite, as the game is full of hotspots, each with detailed descriptions, and this increases the replayability factor, wishing to revisit the game and just examine everything and become fully immersed in this cyberpunk world. There are also some situations in which you must act fast. While I generally dislike this kind of things in adventure games, in Dreamweb these work quite well, increasing the sense of tension and getting the adrenaline flowing. The story is the other strong point of the game. While most of my favorite adventure games are humorous, with wacky puzzles and goofy characters, I quite enjoy the occasional dark adventure if it's convincing and well made. The problem is that the early 90s didn't offer much in the genre, and the games available, like Alone in the Dark, looked like crap back then, and they have since aged like fine yogurt. The masterpieces, like I Have No Mouth and Sanitarium, came much later. So Dreamweb offered something that was quite original for the time and very successfully so. A game without clear definitions of a hero or a villain, where you will have mixed feelings about situations and you will have to decide for yourself how you want to interpret the things that are happening while you feel compelled to see how the story progresses. Of course, there is also a good amount of violence and sex, and this created and still creates controversies about Dreamweb. Yet, the most interesting part about Dreamweb is playing the game and deciding for yourself throughout the various situations if the Dreamweb is real or a psychotic symptom, if Ryan is a schizophrenic killer or a hero. Overall, Dreamweb is a flawed gem for me. It has many moderate but not game-breaking drawbacks, but it offers a fantastic, immersive atmosphere with a superb soundtrack, great writing, and a compelling dark and adult storyline. I would highly recommend that you play it and decide for yourself. So that's it for now, and I'll see you next time!